private members' bills. Okay. Mr. Johns, seconded by Mr. Massey, moves for leave to introduce a bill entitled An Act to Amend the Income Tax Act, Volunteer Firefighters and Search and Rescue Volunteer Services. This motion is deemed adopted. The Honourable Member for Courtenay-Alberni.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank my colleague from Windsor West for seconding this bill. Mr. Speaker, this bill calls on the Government of Canada to increase the tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and search and rescue responders from $3,000 to $10,000 in the tax code. Mr. Speaker, we know that search and rescue responders and firefighters are on the ground right now in British Columbia, doing the important work, helping people at a time of need, and that's when they always show up. When we're in difficult crisis, fires, floods, accidents in our local communities. These volunteer firefighters account for 83% of Canada's total firefighting essential first responders. Approximately 8,000 essential search and rescue volunteers respond to thousands of incidents every year. The Tax Code of Canada currently allows volunteer firefighters and search and rescue volunteers to claim a $3,000 tax credit of $200 if they do 200 hours of volunteer services and they were completed in a calendar year. This works out to about $450 per year, which we allow these essential volunteers to keep of their own income from their regular jobs. It's about $2.25 an hour, Mr. Speaker. And if they volunteer for more than 200 hours, which many do, this tax credit becomes even less. These essential workers give their time, training, and efforts to Canadians on a voluntary basis, often putting their lives at risk and allowing local governments to keep property taxes lower than if paid services were required. Increasing this tax credit will allow these essential volunteers to keep more of their hard-earned money likely to be spent in the communities in which they live, and an increase in the tax benefit will result in increased volunteer recruitment and retention at a time when volunteerism is decreasing. So I'm hoping, Mr. Speaker, that all members in this House will show support for this bill and show respect for all of those first responders and all of those volunteer firefighters across Canada that put their lives at risk, put themselves behind all of us. And we saw the work they did in COVID-19, Mr. Speaker. They were there. And I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the time to talk about this important bill, and I hope I'll get the support of this House.
Mr. John, seconded by Mr.